Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Hayden and I am a full-time software engineer based in London. In this video we're going to be learning about Python context managers, how to use them, how to create them, and how to properly manage resources within inside of them. Let's jump into it. So before we begin, for those of you that watch my channels a lot, you'll notice that I've changed camera angle. So let me know what you think about this. Comment down below, send me a little camera emoji if you think it's good. If not, let me know. I'm just kind of playing around with new things. So your feedback is very valuable. So what are Python context managers? So before we jump into the code, context manager in Python is essentially a way to run Python code within a kind of context. So you can enter the context, do some operations, and your context you're running in is handled or managed by the context manager. So it might be hard to kind of understand what's going on here, but two good examples I find is like the timer function. So you can, if you want to time something in Python, you can use a context manager to do that really easily, because you can start the timer, enter the context and do your operations, and then finish the timer, and then the timer will print out how long that operation took. So that's one way to do a context manager. Another one would be reading and writing files. So you can enter the context, open the file, do your operations you need to do it, and then close the file and kind of save it back down to the file system. And that way that if anything else is competing for that file, you've got it within that context. So they're kind of the two main ways that you can use a context. So let's jump over to PyCharm now and see how we actually write them and use them in Python. So I've come over to Python here, I've made a new file, and I've called this contextmanagers.py. So all context managers kind of start with the same keywords. They start with this with keyword, which says like, with this context, I would like to do this. So let's show you an example of how we can do this. So I'm going to use the example of reading a Python file. So I want to open a Python file. I'm going to call this example.txt, and I would like to write to this file, and I'm going to call this as file. So this is the kind of basic structure of a context manager. You say with to say you're entering context, you're kind of an object that you want to do. So the open function in Python is a context manager within itself. So if you open this example file and I want to write to it with W as file, then I can do things with this file. So I can say file.write, I'm going to say something like hello world. And that will write to this file. So it's open this file, write this line to this file, and then as I exit the context, you can see I've got these 4 indented lines here. So as I come out of the context, I'm in this line here, out of context, you will close the connection to the file and your file will be written. So if I now run this, you can see we've come out of the context, and then if I go to my file system, I have an example.txt here, which has hello world in it, which is the file that we just wrote. So that is your kind of basic syntax and structure of a context manager. You have this with statement, you open up something as your kind of variable, and then you use that within this. Now you've got this kind of this context variable, and then you write. So essentially we're opening connection to a file, writing to a file, and then as we exit, we leave the connection of this file. So let's dive a little bit more deeper into how to actually create a context manager. So in order to create a context manager, we need to use the enter and exit class methods. Now we don't really learn about classes for the minute, but what we can kind of brush over that for this. So I'm going to say my context manager is called this. My context manager is this. And if I say def, like the functions we've done, when I enter, we're going to do something. And for now, I'm just going to say we are entering the context like so. And we need to make another one when we exit the context like this. And I'm going to say print exiting that context. So what's essentially happening here is when we open up this context, so when we go with, we're entering into this method will get executed, then we'll do whatever operations we need to do, and then we will exit the context, and this will happen here. Notice that these kind of auto-filled for me. These are just some arguments that need to be passed into these function methods. Don't worry too much about them for the minute. Just know that this is going on. So now if I say with my context manager, I'm going to say as context, then I can say, I don't know, print I am in the context now, and this will open the context and we'll print this method and then go. So let's see what happens when we run this now. So as we run this to the console, you can see we get entering the context, I'm in the context now, and then exiting the context. So what's happening is we're opening this, we're essentially calling this method, this enter method, and we're entering the context, then we're running this, I'm in the context, so you can see here, and then we're exiting because we're exiting the context. So now let's kind of expand this a little bit more. So you remember at the start, I said that we can kind of use a timer. This might be a good way to show this as well. So what I'm going to do is say, I'm going to create a variable basically on this class at the instantiation, create a variable class. When I enter, we're going to enter the context. I'm going to set the start time to be the time.time, which is essentially the time.now. We haven't got that, so let's import that in. And then when we exit, I'm going to say we are exiting the context, and then I'm going to say print duration took, and I'm going to say self dot start time dot time minus self dot start time. So this will give me the duration of how long this thing took. So when we enter, we basically start a timer, then we do our operations inside, and then we finish the timer. So now if we run this again, it's actually so small that we can't do it. So I'm going to put in a time.sleep of, let's say, 3 seconds. So I'm in the context now, something's happening, and then I'm exiting the context, and you can see the duration of this was 3 point, very small number. And so these are an example of a context manager. So as you can see, you're entering the context, you're setting something up, then you're doing something inside the context and you're tearing it down. These are really handy if you want to do things. So the most common times you're going to use this is with opening and closing files or connections to databases or web requests kind of things, but you can use these in just vanilla Python code for various things. Let's say you want to pass around an object that has some sort of context for your application, maybe a universe, maybe setting up some environment variables, some parameters that you want to use, something that you want to use all the way around your kind of execution of your app. These are really good and handy ways. So there we go. They are context managers in Python for you. I hope you found this video tutorial useful. Context managers are quite hard and interesting ones to get your head around at the first, but once you get your head around them, they are super handy and useful to use for various different types of applications. It's one of these things that sometimes you need to see them being used to understand how useful they are, but once you kind of get your head in that space, they become an incredible tool that you can use in your kind of Python bag of tricks to use these. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Do comment down below if you have any questions, and I really do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much and have a great day.